So like I said, it's only going to get worse. You know, one of these guys are going to jump out and try to take somebody against their will. And they're definitely going to be a concealed carry person. And that's when things are going to go wrong. You know? Or catch somebody having a bad day. Just not in the mood. And that's when things are going to go wrong. Because that's going to happen. You know, when you start separating people from their loved ones, there's bound to be some type of backfire or something like that. Because, you know, people don't want to be separated. And then in most cases, they're taking the men. And let's figure it out. The man is the breadwinner in the family most of the time. When it comes to these families that come from overseas or that are just trying to make it. And because no one's being professional about it, just being all out rude, disrespectful, and ignorant, there's repercussions. So to me, it seems like sympathy, empathy, humanity, all that stuff has gone out the window. You know, people are so busy bickering with one another. People don't realize how much racism costs. When you're a racist, you have to pay the price. And it's a healthy fine. Now all these people are finding out how much the government actually cares about them, which is zero. And now they're realizing that places like Walmart and Dollar Tree are the biggest recipients of government aid. You got the farmers complaining about their farms, losing them, when in actuality, they probably had those farms in their families for years. And probably had Native Americans and Indigenous Americans and Black Americans working those farms. So are they really theirs? Because the way this country's built, on lies, murder, narcissism, racism, everything. Just a really bad mix. But finally, people are starting to wake up. And they're starting to realize that this whole idea of America being the land of the free is not what it used to be. But it was bound to come apart and come, you know, tear down, because it was all built on lies and thieving. So what goes around comes around. And it's unraveling. The people of this country are starting to see. It's not what they thought it was. Your freedoms are being stolen. And people are signing off on it. Crazy. People should have become suspicious when they start getting rid of books. Burning the history. You know? So people don't know about the Black and Indigenous history. And all the other races that have come here and participated and help build this place. But they don't want you to know. Alright, so on to something different. You know, I was thinking while I was doing my walk was that I was talking to a lady online, and you know, based off my previous relationships, I needed to know, how does she think? So, during the conversation, I asked her, I was like, are you stubborn? Would you consider yourself a stubborn person? And she was like, yeah, I'm stubborn. As if it was something cool, something good. She stood on that or whatever. And then, I was in my head thinking about it. Because when a woman tells me she's stubborn, you know, it's a red flag to me. Yeah, it's a red flag. Because there's, one of the reasons why I like dating out the country is because what I find with most women, no matter where they are, is that they're materialistic and they're stubborn. And I have my best luck with women out the country because I don't have to deal with those same issues of being stubborn or materialistic. Now, everybody likes nice things, but come on. Check this out, guys. They got it all decorated for you. Pretty cool. Yeah, but being materialistic and stubborn, red flags. Because me personally, I don't want to deal with it. So I prefer to go out the country, date someone, because then I don't have to worry about resistance in most cases, and they're not heavily focused on all the material aspects of everything, And then there's also TV, which influences most decisions, based off TV or social media. And those things I don't have to deal with most of the time with women that are out the country. Unlike in the States. A lot of the women that I've come across have that issue. I mean, because I always feel like there's an ulterior motive behind, their generosity or kindness or whatever you want to call it. It's never genuine. It's always based off something. So you get this feeling that you're paying for behind. You're not dating someone who actually likes you. There's a fee involved. So those two things are big factors. A female that's materialistic and stubborn is hard to deal with. That's why I don't date in the country. Because of that, materialistic and stubborn. So, yeah, I don't do that. I don't feel like that's something I need to do. So, yeah. Not that I've ever had problems dating women other than it being some materialistic or some stubbornness. I'm a Libra. It's only so much I'm going to tolerate, and that's based off me liking you. After a while, it's just a headache, and I'd rather not deal with it. So when you have those kind of issues, you become numb to the fact that that's just not something you want to deal with. I mean, why would you? When there's a plethora of options, as long as you have the time and the resources to get to them, and the attitudes are just so much better. They're so much more nicer, it seems like. They don't have this already built wall, And that was just off my conversation I had with the lady. She's like really gung-ho about it. Yeah, I'm stubborn, and most women are stubborn, and I'm just listening to her talk because she's right. The crazy thing is that she was really proud of it. Like she's, like all men should want that. And I'm just thinking while I'm like listening to her, just basically picking her brain, because that's one of the things I like to find out, how women think, you know, so that I can better have a better conversation, you know, because I like to elevate the conversation. You know, I don't want to spend my time talking to someone and don't get anywhere. I feel you're wasting your time, and that's precious. So for me to have to speak or have a conversation with someone, it has to be worthwhile. And that's hard to do these days. Because as I said, a lot of women are materialistic, self-centered, big ego. It's a lot of things. So yeah, dealing with women in the States, you have materialism, and then you also have just stubbornness. Nobody wants to deal with it. At least not me anyway. Yeah. So that was the gist of that conversation. I just thought it was disturbing because how adamant she was about it, how proud of it. It was shocking. But the history I know with women, it was spot on. And that further pushes me out the country. Because although those problems may still exist, they're just not as fluent. They're just not as many. And if it is, I haven't run across those because they have an entirely different perspective. You know, they're not out here trying to chase the Gucci and the Louis as much. I'm not saying that they don't do it. I'm just saying it's not the headliner, you know. And now things are going to change, you know, because there's going to be more people that are in tougher situations, at least in the United States. I won't be here to witness, you know. But yeah, I need a partner that wants to elevate, not out here shaking her ass and showing all her goods off and needing all this damn attention. Because that's one thing I notice here in the States. There's a bunch of attention whores. I hate to use it, but that's what it is. You know? Then you got people, a bunch of followers. You know, you get on TikTok, you see all these people doing these stupid ass trends, Group 7 and all this old dumb shit. Just needing to belong, to cling to something. Fucking lost. That's why I can't deal with anybody, because I feel like, you know, I have if the conversation's not intellectual or uplifting, I get bored. And I wander off. It aggravates me. It's hard for me to deal with, like, people who don't make sense. I don't want to say stupid, because that's not always the case. But ignorance. So I try to stay to myself with that, because you know, I know what I like, and I try to stick with that. You don't want to deal with somebody, you know, that doesn't want to cooperate, doesn't want to, you know, grow, not willing to listen or learn. All red flags, you know, at least for me. I don't know about everyone else, but at this stage in my life, there's just certain things I absolutely won't deal with. I just won't deal with it. And besides, there's really nothing a woman can give me that I can't get myself besides the box, you know? And if it's only about the box, then hell, you might as well go ahead and pay for it, because at least that way you can tell them to go home after you're done. You don't have to sit up and treat them to anything, take them anywhere, buy them all this old stuff and put up with their attitude. So for me, going out the country, meeting women with different attitudes and personalities, perfect. All right, guys, since we're just walking the neighborhoods, let's check this out right here and give you guys a good look at this guy here. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Some people take it extremely serious. Years ago, I would have too. But these days, I care nothing about the holidays. Zero. Because now I understand a lot of the holidays are just made to take money. You know, all these man-made holidays, celebrating all this nonsense, spending money on things you don't need. Yeah, crazy work to me. But you won't catch me doing it anymore. I buy airplane tickets, take trips, experience life. I'd rather do that. I'd rather save my money and do that than blow it on this silly stuff. That's another thing. People's priorities, they're screwed. People are screwed. It's like they rather sit, they know the house is on fire. Instead of leaving, they rather sit in the house while it burns. That's the mentality I get. I feel with people. That's why I don't associate with a lot of people, because sometimes to me it feels like I'm being dumbed down, and I can't do it. I can't do it. If I can't learn anything, there's no benefit to spending time with you. It's going to come to an end. And another thing you have to deal with here. It's dangerous here. You know? Due to circumstances, hygiene. A lot of women have poor hygiene. You know? They rather get their hair and their nails done, you know, or a BBL or whatever. But they don't even do the important stuff like take care of their insides, making sure they're fresh. You know, it's sad when you have to turn down some drawers because she don't smell right. I had a situation, man, I went home with blue balls that day. Because here it is, I'm thinking I'm about to hit it. She pulled off her clothes. Man, I made up an excuse so quick because she smelled like she wanted to be alone. Like she just came off of Pier 14 off the dock. And another thing you have to deal with here. It's dangerous here. You know? Due to circumstances, hygiene. A lot of women have poor hygiene. You know? They rather get their hair and their nails done, you know, or a BBL or whatever. But they don't even do the important stuff like take care of their insides, making sure they're fresh. You know, it's sad when you have to turn down some drawers because she don't smell right. I had a situation, man, I went home with blue balls that day. Because here it is, I'm thinking I'm about to hit it. She pulled off her clothes. Man, I made up an excuse so quick because she smelled like she wanted to be alone. Like she just came off of Pier 14 off the dock. If you like this content, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification button. It helps grow my channel.